Pleased to be joined by Brad Katona, who's taking on Jesse Butler in Louisville. I mean, it's fitting. The premiere of Tough this week. You got to have the multimate fighter
Yes.
on the card this weekend. It's hard. It doesn't roll off the tongue that seamlessly multimate fighter.
Yeah. It's obviously exciting to have another season of Tough, and I'll take it. Maybe they put me on this card because of it. I'll take it as a compliment. Either way, it's good being at least in North America again. Just you miss it living in Europe, so I'm glad to be over here.
Well, let's touch on the card back in January in Toronto. What would you say went wrong in that fight against Garrett Armfield?
Man, not to pull the old Nate Diaz or Nick Diaz, but we ran out of time. I really felt like we're getting stronger as the fight goes, which tends to happen with my fights. So the big takeaway was, man, we need to figure out a way of starting faster or making, more moments. Every exchange, I think I was winning some of the exchanges. It was just in between that he was able to pick away, prod away, and not talk crap, but rack up some points. It felt like that fight where it was just in the moment. I felt pretty confident. Watching it back, it's a close fight. It doesn't matter what our opinion is. What can we do about it? And really, the big takeaway was, yeah, more moments. We need more moments because we're running out of time. So how do we do that? And so I just kept asking why. Like I was like the 5-year-old in the car. Well, why? Why did this happen? Why did this happen? Why did when he sneezed we take a back step? Like we needed to close the range. Why are we taking a back step where he can then prod at me with jabs? And it all came down to is, man, our defensive boxing wasn't as sound as it should be. And addressing that, what's going to happen? Well, you address the defense, all of a sudden you're more free to dish out the offense. You're more free to go. We're able to keep that range, keep that anxiety off on them, hold our ground. And even if we're not holding our ground, at least we're not, getting outpointed, at distance. So that was a big one. And then I'd say even larger than all that was fighting's just not a big deal. I've said it a couple of times now, like getting hit wasn't a big deal. I don't think there was a shot. Again, Garrett's knocked out a number of guys, but there wasn't anything that actually hurt that fight. There was nothing that hurt. So why are we backing out? That's where we need to score. So those were the big two takeaways: was address some defense so our offense can actually show through, and then getting hit's not that bad. So maybe don't be afraid to get hit, and that goes in part with better defense.
Well, I wouldn't take that advice for the average person, but I understand what you're saying. Now,
Yes.
in terms of mentality going into this, how do you create those moments? How do you not take a backward step? I'm sure that these are things that you're fine tuning in training, but when it comes down to the actual fight itself, what can you do to prevent that same thing from happening?
Well, we can certainly replicate it in the gym, and that's kind of what I consider is the prototyping and trial phase. You build the skills, you bring it up into drills, more realistic drills, and then you put it in sparring. And is it working in sparring? Yeah, it's been working. I've been creating more moments in sparring. I've been a lot safer in sparring, but it's sparring. We have to fly this prototype sooner or later. And is it going to fly? Like, who knows? Is it going to hold up under the pressure? Who knows? We can look at history and generally, when I go from prototyping something to actually bring it out into the real world, how does it normally go? And I think it normally goes quite well. But we don't know until we know. You don't know until you're actually in there. And so we're going to see Saturday night. And that's on one end the exciting part, but then also on the other end, that's where nerves and doubts and fears come in, because nothing is 100% certain, and certainty is actually what we're, I think, fearful of. It's not necessarily the shot that hurts you; it's the uncertainty of everything working, you getting the result, and doing what you're capable of. So really here, I'm excited because I feel like we're addressing a bottleneck, and when you do that, you get a big jump in performance. And we've done that a couple times in my career, where it's not just the incremental linear progression, it's these steps. And again, we'll see. And that's all I can do and all I can say.
Now I know typically at SBG the Canadians are yourself and your partner Katie, but I know there's been something of an infusion of Canadians coming in for this training camp, namely Jasmine Jasudavicius. So tell me about what it was like to have some other Canadians in the room with you.
I guess the famous quote: "We're not here to take part; we're here to take over." And the Canadians we're there to take over SBG. It was actually really great having Jasmine down. She brought some other girls as well, which is great for my partner being able to train with her. But I was able to squeeze some knowledge out of Jasmine, though some stuff she does very well, and I was able to pick her brain, especially because she was in the pre-camp phase. And there's just now I understand why when you're at gyms, let's say the Moldovan fighters will kind of click together, and then the Italian fighters obviously will click together as well, and there's these little groups, and it was just nice having some Canadian energy. It was just familiar, and I can't put it into words why. Besides Jasmine bringing good energy every day, it was just really nice to have some fellow Canadians down at the gym.
And you told me before we started you're returning the favor. You're heading to Niagara Top Team for some training after this fight.
Yes, there's a few things Canada does extremely well, and one of it's summer. So why not hop on over, get some training in at a different gym, and just mix up the scenery, and hopefully continue those lessons I was squeezing out of Jasmine as she was training with her team and her coaches. And of all the teams in Canada, it seems like Niagara Top Team's doing something special right now. They're producing a lot of up and comers, but also they have some fighters at the highest level. Jasmine, Mike Malott, they're obviously doing something correct. So it'd be nice to see, and again, mix up the scenery. There's probably a lot of chaos going on at SBG in the month, well, all of June. It's the most stacked, I think, fight time for SBG ever. We have numerous PFL events, Bellator. I'm the third, I'm the first of 3 UFC fighters on fighting as well. We have myself, Johnny Walker in Saudi Arabia, and then we have, of course, Conor McGregor. So it's a busy time in SBG. So we're going to just leave some of that chaos and pick up some lessons.
Well, you mentioned Conor McGregor. Is he fighting at UFC 303? There seems to be this shroud of mystery about what's going on with that card right now.
I know as much as you guys, which is nothing. All I can say is, well, behind the scenes, last time I saw him, he seemed completely healthy. Now, I think I got here on Saturday, so it's been a little while. Maybe something's developed, but I really, I wish I knew. I'm as curious as you guys. I was just checking the MMA subreddit right now, seeing if there was any news, but I don't know anything. I think so. The way everything's, as far as I know, everything's as going forward. But again, I know probably as much, if not less, than you guys.
Whenever I ask you about Conor, you always give me that answer. I know as much as you do. But I think it's actually you're a pretty sincere guy, so I actually believe it to be true in your case. I don't believe that you go out for drinks and hang out with Conor all that often, anyways, right? I mean, he's like you've always said, he's kind of a bigger fighter, but I'm sure you've seen him do his thing in the gym and all of that. But it's kind of at an arm's length.
Yeah, he's been in the gym, and it's been nice having him in there. You always bring again, like we think, I don't know what people think anymore. But anytime he's on the mat, it is exciting. There is an energy about the place. It's good having him down, and he has been down at the gym a lot. I know he's also doing his own work because he has a gym on his property. Why wouldn't you? Why make the trek in for every session twice a day if you don't need to? I wouldn't. But it's been nice, and it's always a little cool seeing his training for such a big fight, because it's always such a big fight. I know when I first got to SBG, Conor was preparing for the Khabib fight. That's cool to peek behind the scenes of that training camp, even for short moments. So same thing here. It's neat seeing what he's working on and developing, and he's working with Dave Roach, assistant coach. I don't even want to call him assistant coach. I would say the striking coach of SBG. So that's a new little member of his team, and it's neat to see what they're working on.
Well, it's very exciting to see you back in the cage this Saturday, and also very exciting that I might get to see you next week in Niagara. So hopefully that comes to be. It's a pleasure catching up with you, Brad, and hope to see you very soon.
I appreciate that. I can't wait to be back home in Canada.